coming up. What an excellent day for autographs. Well, howdy folks, and welcome to Minute 78 of the Exorcist Minute, a show where we endeavor to examine, extrapolate, and excavate The Exorcist, minute by terrifying minute. My name is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I'm Kynan Diaz.
And we'll be your holy guides on this journey through what some have called the scariest movie of all time. Okay, so our minute begins with Kinderman saying, "In the meantime..."
And it ends with Kinderman saying, "I'll come back when she's feeling better."
Or does it end there? Yes, it actually does. But we have a reading that sheds a little more light on things, and it features an event that is not in the movie, so sit tight. That one's going to be a doozy. But for now, let's get back to the top of this minute here. We got Chris and Kinderman still in the breakfast room. Kinderman's just got done talking about penicillin, and Chris has promised to ask Reagan about Burke, not about penicillin. Honey, what's this fungus? Is this penicillin, or should we throw this banana bread out?
See, that's why I never throw anything out, just in case it has a world-changing new medicine on it.
Kynan, you gotta clean out your fridge. No, lives are at stake.
The fate of the world.
If certain doctors never asked, "What is this fungus?" their wives never would have left them. No.
Yeah, my dad we'd have leftovers that were in the fridge too long, and they'd get moldy or whatever. And my dad used to call them science experiments, and I think he shouldn't have done that because it's a joke. But then, once I got my own fridge, I was like, yeah, at this point, let's just, see what happens. I know I'm not going to eat it. That's the control. The variable is how much time there is, right?
The variable is when I come over to your house and suddenly I can hear colors after having coffee and cake with you. But yeah, so Chris promises to ask about Burke when Reagan is feeling better. Kinderman says, it couldn't hurt. And then he awkwardly looks for a place to put down his coffee cup, right? They're both looking around here. I think Chris is looking around for like a way to get him out of there, right? Like okay, he has everything. He hasn't left anything. Kinderman has decided on the table as the place to set the cup down. And we hear this like loud clattering, right? We can't see anything, but it's this loud, awkward clatter. So we can only assume that he tried to set it down and somehow he made a mess, right?
Is that part of his grand plan?
I don't know. Like at this point, like I'm wondering like how much is Kinderman the character, or Kinderman the what is the Yiddish word for like a clumsy person?
Like a nebbish.
I thought, isn't it like putz?
Oh, a klutz.
A klutz.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You can't say that other word on radio.
Oh, that's right, because it means the other thing.
Right, that's a dirty word.
No, yeah. We can't say.
Yeah, klutz, a klutz. So
a klutz. Wait, is that Yiddish?
Yiddish is klutz for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But so he, he does the movie thing. He asks for more coffee. She gives it to him. He doesn't drink any of it. He puts it down and he leaves, which is a very, that's the movie thing, right? Of like you sit down for a meal and then before
the
you order,
happens,
you
right?
get the food even. Nobody eats any of it, and then we got to go.
Oh my gosh, I'm late.
Yeah, and we shouldn't have had a meal at all. Come to think of it.
This is just very bad time management on my part. I apologize.
Right, we shouldn't have come to this restaurant, but isn't it so much prettier? Isn't it more production values than if we had this conversation at home?
Look at these dynamic corners. I mean, we got a cameo by this waiter here, right? Will there be anything else, Mr. Kinderman?
Are you Steve Martin?
Well, I was doing Pazuzu. I don't know.
Steve Martin's the waiter in the Muppet movie.
There we go. Okay, yeah.
He's very, very funny. Yeah, so this might be part of Kinderman's plan, though, that to ask for the coffee. He's not going to drink the coffee. He's going to spill the coffee. It's going to make her. It's the telltale turtle, right, in this scene, and she's going to go, you finally that coffee spill is what cracked me, and now I'll tell you everything. I killed Burke.
Yeah,
and I do it again.
I did it all. It was just one more coffee spill. I was like, don't put that cup down. There's no coaster. Or I'll kill you like I killed him. I mean, cream or sugar? Yeah. But no, you're right. I'll have to go back and look at the book. But from my memory, he does do a couple of like klutzy things on purpose. Like he drops some things and then he goes and he picks stuff up and he misplaces something or maybe, I might even take this out because I can't remember exactly. But like I think I don't know if you were joking or not, Kynan, about this being part of his plan, but I think in the book there are a couple of like whoopsie daisy moments where like he picks something up from the floor, or I specifically remember he scrapes a little bit of like paint off the Dumbird sculpture, and then he analyzes that with like the paint from the desecration or something like that.
Well, that's some good detective-ing there, yeah. Do you know the Danny DeVito line from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where he drops something?
No.
So he's in front of this girl that he likes at the carnival, and he drops him, and he's supposed to say, "Oh, look at that! I dropped my Magnum condom I use for my monster dong." but instead, DeVito flubs it. So he says, "Oh no, look at that! I dropped my monster condom I use for my Magnum dong."
Nice, I like it. Yeah. Keep all of Danny DeVito's mistakes in, please.
You're right, exactly.
Batman, you don't really think you would? Oh, look at that! I've dropped my
penguin condom.
No, I sure hope Catwoman isn't here. Oh no!
Oh no! How embarrassing, Catwoman! You had to see that.
Best Penguin, folks, ever. Except maybe Paul Williams.
Paul Williams is the Penguin?
Yeah, he voiced the Penguin in the animated series.
Really?
Yes. Wait. Before I'm going to have to take this out.
Paul Rubens?
No, not Paul Rubens.
Paul Williams.
Paul Williams. Penguin. Paul Williams.
He's a very little guy.
Yes, I am right.
Wow, I didn't put that together.
Characters portrayed by Paul Williams.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, we go.
He's a little tiny guy who played the Penguin. Wonderful.
Oh, Paul Williams, who I always confuse with John Williams.
Sure, I don't see why not. Yeah,
right. We got Paul Williams, we got John Williams, we got Robin Williams. The Penguin just pulls off his mask, and it's Daniel again.
Oh God, Daniel! Why, Daniel?
Your Honor, if I'm guilty of hating Batman,
if it's insanity to want to kill the firstborn child of every family in Gotham, then lock me up. Because Your Honor, I can't live without killing the firstborn son of every family in Gotham. It's like oxygen to me.
If it's insanity to eat a live fish like an open-faced sandwich.
And to drive around town in a tuxedo in a car that looks like a rubber ducky. But I don't want to be right. But you can't take away my kids that used to belong to all the other families in town.
Well, actually, Mr. Penguin, yes, we can. That's that's the whole idea here. We're talking about penicillin. He sets the cup down. Oh, right, Kynan. So I was going to ask you. So he sets this down, right?
Kinderman.
And we got Kinderman. Yeah. And we got this like really awkward moment, right, where like he tries to set it down without making a mess. It makes this loud clatter, and Chris sees it just like a little bit too late. It's like too late for her to have like taken the cup from him, right? But she reaches out anyway, like, oh, that's okay, right?
Right.
This reminds me so much of like awkward moments that I've had at parties or like just like small intimate gatherings where it's like, I don't know, like I need to throw something away and I'm looking around for the trash can, right? And like a little bit too late, right? The host or the hostess realizes what I'm looking for, but I've already like thrown it away and it's like, oh, it's over. Oh, well, yes, you found it. Yes. Yeah,
exactly.
Or it's, just put them in the sink or like, and I'm like already halfway through. Like I'm washing the dish that I used. Right. And a little bit too late. She's like, oh, no, you don't need to do that. But I've already put it in the drying rack.
Right.
And now it looks like I'm the asshole,
I was at a party once where it was
which you
mostly
hate.
I do not like parties. I just don't know where to put my hands or my words, Yeah, so it was mostly an outdoor party. And like it was really cool. It was a pool, a trampoline, etc. It was really cool party. And then we're all vibing outside, chilling, whatever. And then somebody comes out from the back and says, "This party is over." And it was whoever's was mother. "This party is over. Somebody shit in the laundry room. This is done. This is done." And we're like, "What?" So no matter how awkward, and of course, we want to go in and look at it.
Of course,
or we want to see for ourselves.
This party, she may say that the party is over, but I think the party just got way more interesting.
Right, I'll remember that party for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that is however awkward you've been at a party, you've never been awkward enough to shit in the laundry room on the floor.
I think that takes the cake. My God. Wow. But yeah, so I guess all things considered, Kynan, this isn't so awkward here. Right. Yeah. So she and also luckily it's been a nice little distraction. She's been able to put that turtle away in her coat pocket. Right. It's like nobody's looking at that anymore.
Yeah, she'll flush that down the toilet later.
And then Reagan will come out. It's like this party is over.
Somebody flushed this turtle down the toilet. Who would do that? Who would do that?
That's when Captain Howdy is like on her side. It's like, yeah, that was uncalled for. That was a little bit much.
Mm-hmm. That's super effed up, guys.
Yeah. Right. Like I know I came here and it's like I'm possessing your daughter and I'm causing a ruckus, but like I'm not gonna flush somebody's art down the toilet.
Right. I wasn't born in a barn. I was born before barns were invented.
Yeah. Everyone's just like, oh God, he's doing his stand-up again.
That's the worst part. That's the worst part about being around one of these demons.
Yeah. Like, they gotta constantly be winking at you about how they're not human.
It's always on. Yeah. Beetlejuice is fun to watch, not fun to share a cab with.
No. Take my wife, please. It's Lamash, dude. Everybody remembers. Yes, Pazuzu. Yes, we remember.
Did a whole bit about Lamash too.
Yep. Again. There's no coverage in this house. It's like, what is this? Ancient Mesopotamia?
Right. Back then we'd have to send clay tablets to each other. You up?
Those are some really strong-legged pigeons, I tell you. At some point, like someone at the party was like, Pazuzu, I don't know if that's 100% historically accurate. It's like, shut up! Are you the comedian here or am I the comedian?
That's right.
It was like Chris invited a whole bunch of famous people. It was like, I'm actually a comedian. Everyone's a comedian.
Everyone's a comedian.
Okay, so Kinderman, he's already feeling a little bit awkward, and it looks like he is mustering up the courage to say something here. He says, "I really hate to ask you this, but," and you can see Chris's expression here change, right? Like she was sort of smiling awkwardly at the coffee cup incident, but as soon as he starts to speak again, she goes through a whole range of emotions here. Like I can see a look of like, oh God, what is it now, right? But also maybe a look of like real concern when he says, "For my daughter," and then the pause, and then like all of that changes when she realizes what he is asking. So he says, "I really hate to ask you this, but," and she says, "What?" And he says, "For my daughter, could you please give an autograph?" And now this always struck me as odd, but it happens the exact same way in the book, right? Mm-hmm. This request seems to completely charm and disarm Chris here. She sort of like smiles and laughs. Like in fact, like in the book, it says Chris almost laughed with relief at herself, at despair, at the human condition. I don't know. Like whenever we get to this point, like especially in the book, where at this point he has worn out his welcome, even more so in the book, like going off on tangents, leaving, coming back, and then all of that ends, and he has taken up so much of her time and caused her all this grief and stress, and then he asks for her autograph. Like I would not be laughing. How did you feel about this?
I think it fools me every time that I watch the movie, because that lead up to it is like, oh God, if there's something that you don't want to ask after you've asked all these other terrible things.
Like if you've been holding like something back after all of this,
what could it be? Like, who's the father? Where's the father? Right? Right? Did you kill Berg? All these terrible things he could ask, and then it's this nice thing. Yeah, I think it's very charming.
Interesting.
And I don't know. I have never been Is that true? Have I been recognized? Have you been recognized?
I have, yeah.
Yeah,
a couple times.
Like, does it really bother you? I mean, maybe when you're at Chris's level, it must be different, right? Like,
yeah, I wouldn't put myself up next to Chris MacNeil or Ellen Burstyn,
right? Where it's like happening all the time, probably. But like, when you're at our level, whenever someone does recognize you from a movie, or even I've done an improv show, and then you're eating at a restaurant afterwards. It's like, oh, I was in the improv show. You did really great. Like I don't know. I don't think it can ever feel too bad,
No, it always, I mean, for me, it always feels really
yeah. So I don't know, maybe I don't know if it's such a faux pas as you're saying it is here. I think it's like, always nice.
Yeah, the way that I was thinking about it was just, it's like A, she must be getting that, she gets that like all the time, right? And B, like she wants him out, right? And so I like, if it were me, and if I were as famous as Chris MacNeil, I and like he had just dropped this kind of bomb on me about like my daughter possibly murdering like my best friend, right? And then like he comes back, like he's talking about all this stuff. I would like at that point is like, oh, just one more thing I want to ask. Can I have your autograph? I was like, get out of my house. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I like that what Blatty says in the book that you just read, that like she's laughing at the human condition. I think that is such a human thing. Like, oh, I might not see you again, right? Because
true, yeah,
or the next time I see you, it'll be in court as I put away your daughter. So, so could I please get an autograph? I don't know. That
well, you still like me.
That is very human.
Yeah, I guess you're right. And it is, I mean, for everything that I just said, right? Like it really does endear him to us.
Yeah.
I'm so touched here, right? He sounds so genuine, right? Like this little schoolboy who's meeting Chris MacNeil, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah. And oh man. She laughs and she says, "Where's a pencil?" And Kinderman is on it, right? He had this whole thing planned, right? Like he's got a pencil for her, right? Like, side note, buddy, an autograph in pencil, get a pen. That's gonna wear out.
That,
right? Like I have old like notebooks and stuff that I wrote like all of my stuff in, and some of it was in pencil, and it's worn away now. Like it's just completely just from being like a closed notebook, like constantly like moving from place to place. That pencil's gone.
Oh,
right?
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, it's all smudged. Yeah.
I think that celebrity is so interesting, and we talk a lot about like, oh, what bearing does Chris's celebrity have on this piece? So we talked about that, etc. But here, this is really interesting, like to be investigating a movie star that you like, right? Yeah, I'm thinking about Gwyneth Paltrow just went through a trial. I don't know how much you followed that.
No.
So Gwyneth Paltrow was sued for this guy said that she ran into him on the ski slopes in Park City, and that he's had medical problems ever since. And
oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was really bad case. I think that all the evidence was against him, and then I think I don't know this guy, and it feels to me as a completely outsider perspective that he he was injured and became, mentally not all there. He was sort of a cloudy-headed guy afterwards, and he was an optometrist before. And it seems like people told him he should be suing her, and that he, went forward with it when he didn't really have a case, because the other people involved said, no, he ran into her and all that stuff. So anyways, it was a really weird trial, not just because it was, because of how bad of a case it was, but the celebrityness of it all. And then and then there was weird coverage about how like the guy who was suing her, his lawyer and Gwyneth Paltrow like really got along on the stand, and something about either like, the celebrity of Gwyneth Paltrow, or like a lot of these people are celebrities because they just are so charismatic, right? And you like get close to them, like, oh, this person's a star even in person, like when you meet a star. That the lawyer who was suing Gwyneth Paltrow was like, oh, you look so good today, and like, oh, how tall are you? Oh, you look so much taller, and like she was like becoming best friends with her on the stand. Oh, wow. Yeah, people were like, oh, I thought this was Paltrow's lawyer, because they just like they seem to be getting along so well.
Dang.
But there's something about like I don't know, it's sort of chicken or egg, right? Like are you so awed by this person because they're famous that like you act differently around them, or are part of the reason they're famous is because they have that effect on you, right? Just being there.
Yeah. Is there celebrity from that kind of like magnetism that they exude? Interesting. Yeah. Actually, Kynan, that raises another question here. I mean, we have Chris McNeil, who, I mean, I guess in this world is bigger than Gwyneth Paltrow, right? Right. Like, I mean, having dinner with the president and all that, right? Like, do you think Kinderman has been like doing a lot of like extra like legwork behind the scenes to keep her out of the papers and everything?
Oh, like to protect her?
Yeah, like I mean, like it's unspoken, right? Like we have no smoking gun. We have no evidence of this at all, but you like famous director Burke Dennings dies and found at the bottom of the steps of famous actress Chris McNeil's house. Why is this not all over the news already?
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Right.
And it wasn't like this wasn't heard of at the time. Like we're not in some new crazy era completely. Like, Hollywood deaths and murders get a lot of publicity around them. That's just, this is how it is. So,
yeah. And you would think, especially like, because this isn't in LA, this is in, Georgetown.
Right.
And you would think all the Georgetown reporters would be like, I'm going to be the first one to like have this story. Right.
Yeah. Well, I that brings up a morbid question that I didn't think I was going to ask, so I haven't prepared you for this. But sometimes in class, I will ask my students, as a class, like what their favorite Hollywood death is. That like these big, because there are so many of them, right? And there is like so much a big part of it, like Valentino, the biggest movie star of his day, dying all of a sudden, and then people. The legends are that people kill themselves because they can't live in a world without Valentino. So the one I normally go to is the Nathalie Wood. Suicide, accident, murder, unsolved death of Nathalie Wood. Do you not know this one?
I don't know this one, no.
Jeepers. All right. Well, it's a whole thing you can look
Caroline.
up. Nathalie Wood from West Side Story, and she was she was a child actor. She was in Miracle on 34th Street and The Searchers. Yeah. So like, she was on a boat with, I believe, just 4 people on it. The captain of the boat, her husband, Robert Wagner, who you might know from Austin Powers.
Right, yeah.
And then Christopher Walken. And so Nathalie Wood apparently was afraid of the water, and then the 2 men, woke up and they couldn't find Nathalie anywhere, and it would, for her to have gone out would have been her to like be on the deck of the boat by herself and like untying a dinghy or something to go somewhere by herself, which doesn't make any sense. And then and there's not really a clear motive that any of the other the dudes would have, either her husband or Christopher Walken.
Well, that's where my mind goes immediately.
That it's Christopher Walken.
It's one of them. It's Robert Wagner or Christopher Walken.
Yeah, there's only 2, only 3, only 3 people.
Your Honor, we don't know where she went. We went to sleep, and then she is gone, and now, like, I mean, come on. I am neither a detective nor a judge.
So you don't think there's a lot of mystery to this story?
They go, no. And now I don't like Christopher Walken or Robert Wagner.
So you're not buying into this this grand conspiracy theory of something nefarious, or
you're telling me that Nathalie Wood doesn't like the water.
Right.
But she went with these two men.
Yes.
And they went to sleep and woke up, and now she's not there.
Yes.
And they did nothing nefarious.
So you're like not even, you know, their celebrity has nothing to do with it here. Like you're it's not like, you know, these are weird people or anything. Yeah.
Did she woke up in the middle of the night and she's like, I'm gonna go all by myself out onto the water.
Yes.
Which I hate.
Yeah, and go and mess around with like the extra boat or whatever. And
yeah. What? No.
All right.
I'm sorry. I don't need to be Kinderman to figure this out.
Case closed.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, we did it. Here on the Exorcist
Minute. I'm thinking she knew something that about she had some dirt on Wagner and Walken.
Well, that is the completely unhinged. You know, there's no evidence of that, but that is the unhinged thing that people say, like that they were sleeping together or something, and then Nathalie Wood came in and discovered them and said, like, well, there's only one thing to do here.
Walker and Wagner, Walken and Wagner were sleeping together.
That's the again. There's no evidence of that whatsoever, but that's what people jump to, right? Like it's, you know, because there's no motive at all, so they had to create a motive.
Well, I was thinking like some other like some I don't know. I don't want to get dark here, but like yeah. some other suspicious stuff. No, I mean darker than that. Like some kind of ring that they were part of or something like that.
We'll see exactly. We have no idea. There's no evidence of any of that, so we have no idea. So anyway, anyways, that's one of the weirder ones. So I guess you don't think it's very weird.
No, you don't. That one's pretty black and white for me.
Okay, well. Anyway, so
yeah. Well, okay, Kynan. Yeah. Let's take out Nathalie Wood. Let's take out. No, let's not do that because that's what Chris Walken and Robert Wagner did. No, okay. Let's omit the names.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. Let's say a woman and two men go out on a boating trip, and only the two men come back, and they tell you that they have no idea where the woman is. I don't care about their names. What are you going to think?
I'm going to think that they know where she is. Yes, that they did something. One of them did something. Yeah,
I think so. Jesus.
Well,
yes.
Do you have a favorite celebrity death mystery, etc.?
This guy, dark. Oh my God.
I could go on with more, but
okay. I don't have a direct answer to this, but I have a celebrity death that impacted me.
Okay.
So the celebrity death that is I would say my anti-favorite, the thing that I like absolutely hate, but it's the one that like hit me the hardest, and like I remember standing up. I was in the teacher's lounge when it happened, and somebody said, "Oh, Robin Williams died."
Right.
And I remember standing up and shouting, "No, no, no!" Like just not being able to like no, that's like stop! Don't read that. That came from like a fake tabloid or something like that. Like that is not true.
Right. Yeah, that's a big one for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, and then people say it was like, oh, you know, it's because he was depressed and because of this and because of that, and just like me not being able to accept it, just because like no, like I've seen videos with him and his daughter, like they have a loving relationship, and he's like, and just all you have to do is look at his movies and look at how you know like how much of a heart he has, and like he is this source of happiness for all of these other people. No, that is not. I deny that. I do not accept that. Right. That is this. So not favorite, but like the one that hit me the hardest. Right.
All right. Well, yeah. So I was just bringing that up because you're pointing out that like Burke would be one of those big, you know, to-dos, right? His death, his accidental death, while they're making a movie. Yeah, that would be very noticeable. I'm
actually like surprised now that we didn't think about this up until now.
Right.
That like how come this isn't all over the tablet? How come what's it a photo play? What like what are you doing?
Where's
the photo
on the job?
play? Yeah, really, seriously. Like they would be all over this thing. It's like Burke, accident? Question mark, right? And then they would have an article about it. It's like, was Burke's death an accident? And it would not answer the question.
Yeah, and they could use that same terrible photo of Chris. The night that Howard left, yeah.
Right. They were fighting on the set about some script thing, and then and then Burke was drunk. Yeah. Like, oh, make it, yeah. So, but that makes me wonder. Maybe like Kinderman was doing some kind of like, behind the scenes stuff to like protect her from that. Now that we know that like he is a big Chris MacNeil fan, like would he care as much about like another, yeah. He
doesn't. Yeah. When Nathalie Wood dies 8 years after The Exorcist, he doesn't give one wet fart. No. He's completely fine.
Because he's a Christopher Walken fan.
He's Team Walken, yeah.
Okay, so back to this innocent moment, right? One of the few innocent moments we have in this story, right? But yeah, so Chris asks like, "Where's a pencil?" Right? He's got a pencil, right? And again, I'm touched here, right? He sounds so genuine, right? Like a little schoolboy, right? And he's meeting his celebrity crush, right? And he seems more excited about the autograph than his daughter would be. And then almost immediately we come to find, of course he is, because that was all a lie, right? The autograph was not for his daughter. The autograph was for him. And this right here, this moment here, when we cut to Kinderman's face, right? Anything, like everything Lee J. Cobb is doing, from the hesitation to the sheepish smile, immediately endears us to him, right? Like that's how you do it. That's how you make us fall in love with a character we otherwise might not have felt this way about, right? At the very least in this scene, right? Like he is a nuisance, if not an outright threat to Chris and Regan. But this little touch of humanity is enough for us to be like, Kinderman, you're just a starstruck softy, you old teddy bear, you old walrus, you old crag. And actually, okay, like I just want to read like a tiny little passage from the book here. It's the scene right here, right? So Chris is, she's about to write the autograph for Kinderman's daughter, and she says, "What's her name?" Chris asked, pressing the card against the door and poising the pencil stub to write. There followed a weighty hesitation. She heard only wheezing. She glanced around. In Kinderman's eyes, she saw some massive, terrible struggle. "I lied," he said finally, his eyes at once desperate and defiant. "It's for me." He fixed his gaze on the card and blushed. "Write to William Kinderman. It's spelled on the back." And yeah, I'm so glad that Friedkin decided to keep this in, right? Like again, we've talked about Blatty being like the more sentimental one of the two, right?
Absolutely.
So when Friedkin allows for these moments in the film, right? I'm always happy that they're there, right? Because that's how life is, right? Even in a sad or a scary or a heavy part of your life, there's these little like rays of sunshine, that are going to poke through, right? Like life is not uniform, right? Life doesn't care about an adherence to tone or to theme, right? Like it's going to have downs in the up spots and ups in the down spots, right? But yeah, what do you make about this? We talked about like how good it feels to see characters smile in this film, right? Like a breath of fresh air. Like what do you make of this moment?
Yeah, and like the opposite, I suppose, or some part of the same coin when Dyer and Karras are trying to joke around after Karras' mother has died, right? And they're trying really hard to just have a good time and just laugh, and that iceberg of grief is right underneath it the whole time. Yeah, I like it here. I think it's not too much. If all the moments that Blatty had in the book were in the film, that might be too much, and it might take away from some of it. But this is a moment where for now in this sequence with Kinderman, we're not necessarily thinking about the demon who's going to eat us as we have been like in the past few scenes, even right. So here, we this is the right time for it at the very least.
Yeah, it almost like I'm thinking of this just right now, but it almost in a very like subtle, almost subconscious way, like, well, it's like evil can't prevail because people are laughing and people are being bashful and people are being loving, right? And it may have nothing to do with like Kinderman doesn't know Captain Howdy, like even Chris doesn't know Captain Howdy yet, right? But just the fact that that like embarrassed laughter and bashfulness and well-meaning stumbly bumbly detectives exist,
right?
like it means that like, well, good must still be here, right?
Unless he is the master Sherlock Holmes, and this is to get like her handwriting sample or something that we're not thinking about. And this
I
is
am
all
so glad you said
Oh,
that.
really?
Yes. If I remember correctly, in the book.
Oh, okay.
All of this is fake.
Oh no,
Kinderman. All of
Kinderman.
this. Yes. No, this whole thing. And I was waiting, and you kind of you jumped it, but like no, all like we're gushing about how like sweet and how lovable and this just lovable grandpa Kinderman is, but no, this is all part of it. Yeah, no, this was to get her stuff. This was to get her signature.
Right.
Like yeah.
But then so even this, why in the story does he need to get caught in a lie? Well, it makes it seem like, oh, this really is.
Well, there's no way that he could be deceiving her now because she just caught him in
a
lie.
Right, exactly.
Right, yeah. So there's no like. Now this is the true Kinderman, right? Like he was lying about his daughter, but no, he really wants that.
Willie, you got me.
Yeah. Right. Now, I mean, I'll have to go back in the book and check. I know that like there's some stuff that he was doing that that is kind of like deception,
right?
But I'm pretty sure I remember this also being part of it.
Yeah.
That he needed her information somehow, like her handwriting or something from her house, and the story about the autograph was the thing.
Yeah, it just covers his bases, I suppose. So in the movie, again, this is just doddery old Kinderman, and we don't necessarily have any indication that he's anything but doddery old man, right? I'm talking about like on the very first viewing through, right? You wouldn't put those together, and then he shows up at the end, and you're like, oh, okay. Well, in the version you've never seen,
right?
He shows up at the end,
yeah.
Right. I was thinking about autographs though, and everything. I took my boyfriend is in town because he lives out of state, and he has come to Las Vegas, and so one of the things he wanted to do was to go to the Pawn Stars pawn shop, which I've never been to, and we went there, and there's a lot of memorabilia with autographs and signed autographs, signed photos, autographed, all sorts of things.
Signed autographs. Signed autograph. Hey, there's an autograph on this autograph.
I think nowadays, probably more so in the 70s, right? People are more cognizant of resale value for their autographs. So I don't think people ask anymore for like, will you sign it to me necessarily? Or what do you think? At least the ones at on display for sale that I was looking at didn't have to whoever.
To so-and-so.
Yeah, to Wong Fu, thanks for everything, Julie Newmar.
Right. We'll always have breakfast at Tiffany's or,
Yeah, it really is just like okay, you're going to turn around and sell this on eBay, yeah. Keep
on working on that piano. So what am I going to do with this? I don't even play the piano.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard some different reactions from different celebrities because everyone's a little bit different, it turns out. And some people don't like taking photos with fans. You've heard that a little bit. There are some people who are like, no, I'd rather not take a photo with you. I'd rather sit here and have a conversation with you for 2 minutes rather than, a photo or something that might be impersonal. Or some people are like, no, I'd rather you take a photo than an autograph, which might be, you might want an autograph just to resell, but a photograph would be something that's about the two of us actually meeting, etc.
Yeah. I'm nowhere near that level of celebrity to even think about like whether I would care or not.
Right. What am I going to do with like whether someone would sell your autograph?
Yeah. Like, I mean, if I'm trying to get into the head of a Chris McNeil, right? And if I found out that all Kinderman wanted to do was to go on to the 1970s version of eBay, which doesn't exist because there's
I think that's a back alley. I think that's him in an alley going, "Yo, kid, you want to buy Chris McNeil's signature?"
He opens up that trench coat. And I got Clark Gable, I got Julie Newmar, I got Nathalie Wood. This one's going, really, really fast. But like, I don't know. I'd like to imagine I really wouldn't care. It's like, hey, you're not cherishing this. You're just making money off it. Like, it's like, but then I can't say it like for sure. Like, I think I would feel like a little kind of like tinge of something like, like, it's like, hey, like, so you don't like my work. You just know that I'm famous and you want, and you want to make money off of it.
So my signature is valuable because somebody wants it, but not that guy who, I pretended
approached
to,
me.
to want to have a conversation with me.
All right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Well, as Kinderman might say, as they sort of say in Yiddish Jewish comedian circles, we should have such problems.
Yeah, we should have. Yeah, that would be like, you know what, Kynan? Let me get back to you once I become rich and famous.
Yeah.
Once this Exorcist Minute thing takes off, and you and me are both, being recognized on the street, right. It's like, hey, you sound like those guys. Could you sign, and could you write the whole time? Could you do that?
Right.
Even though that has nothing to do with the movie that you cover.
Are you? No, I don't know if you. No. Do an impression of Lee J. Cobb. Wait, no. Say in Lee J. Cobb's voice, "It's for my daughter." Then I'll recognize you.
Do a Captain Howdy. But yeah. I don't know, but okay, I actually do have something on the other end of this, though. I mean, the going out and the purchasing of autographs that weren't signed specifically for you.
Yeah.
You know, like you go into like one of those shops and you see that, let's say you see something like, Robin Williams, he signed something, and I'm looking at that and it's like, man, I love Robin Williams, but that's not like he wrote it for me. He wrote that for somebody else.
Well,
and folks, yes, I'm aware that on my shelf right now, I do have a first edition copy of The Exorcist with William Peter Blatty's signature on it, that I paid a lot of money
But that
for.
one doesn't say like to Shelley, thanks for yada yada yada, right? It just says William Peter Blatty, right?
Yeah. Right. So I hypothetically, I could just lie and say that
you could just forge the beginning to Lester.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing the show.
Thanks for giving me the idea of this book. Shit, what were we talking about?
Oh, I don't know. We're here now. Oh, no, you did have a thought. Hold on. It was, you would prefer that it would be, you wouldn't necessarily want a signature that was written to somebody else.
Right. Like I would get it. Like if it was offered to me,
right.
like if someone was like, hey, do you want this Robin Williams thing?
Right.
Or do you want this Jamie Lee Curtis thing? Right. And even if it just like I would still have that thing in the back of my mind. Like even if it was just their name, right? Like it was Michelle Yeoh or Jamie Lee Curtis or Ke Huy Quan or, I'm just going to name all the people from my favorite movie right now. And it didn't have like to so-and-so and such and such. It was just their name, right? I would still be like, but they didn't sign this like in my presence. Right? Like they didn't sign this for me. They signed this for somebody else, right?
You just find a way to make anything special in your life sad.
Yeah. No, that's me.
Right, but that's the thing in the movie.
Kynan, how long have you known me?
In the movie To Wong Fu, right? That's sort of the joke, is that they have the signature of Julie Newmar, but it's written to Wong Fu, and they have no idea who that is, but they still love it, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so Kinderman gets his autograph, right, and he gets to talk to Chris MacNeil. And actually, it's funny in the book, she signs it and she adds an extra thing. She says, "To William F. Kinderman, I love you."
Oh,
yeah.
Like what? Just that's a sort of her like autopilot thing to do.
Yeah, like you're a beautiful soul or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like And I was like, wow, like imagine that, right? Like to William F. Kinderman, I love you, signed Chris MacNeil.
I didn't mention this. So I got to interview recently Dante Bosco, who plays Zuko on Avatar, right? And is Rufio in Hook. Yes. And we had our late friend's Blu-ray of Hook that was signed by Robin Williams. And we can't read what it says. And we could read Robin Williams, but he says something that might be something like, what does he say in Hook? He's like, he says something to Jack that's like, "You can do it, Jack," or something like that, his son. So we're thinking it's that, but then
like home run Jack, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, we can't quite make it out. But so then we're like, "Oh, Dante, can you sign this for us?" We had Robin Williams sign this as well. So Dante signed it, and so he signs it, of course. BATARANG, Dante Bosco.
Wait, BATARANG?
Yeah, that's Rufio's line, and
no,
yeah,
it's not.
Yeah, it is. Oh, is it what? What is BATARANG?
No.
What is it? Oh, Bangarang. I'm missing it. No. He did it correctly. No. No. He did it perfectly great. I just misremembered right now.
Oh man, that would have been.
I was thinking of the joke. I was thinking of the penguin and all that stuff with the batarang. Look, it's my batarang that I use for my bangarang.
My Magnum batarang, I dropped it.
From Dante Bosco.
From my monster Dark Knight. Oh my God. That would have been. I'm sorry. That is such a wonderful moment, and I'm glad you have that, yes, and that you are able to cherish that. That would have been so funny
if he had misspelled his own line.
If he had written Batarang.
This is a movie that was 30 years old for him. Maybe he doesn't remember it.
No, I think he remembers it, and he did it correctly.
Yes,
folks.
he did it correctly. And he was a gentleman and a lovely guy.
Yes, wonderful. That is really, really cool. That you got that experience, Kid. But yeah, so everybody just meeting celebrities in this thing. This is. We got Kinderman, and so as Chris is signing, our Kinderman is continuing to. I hate this term. I really hate this term, but I guess the popular term is fangirl.
Right.
Yeah, but that's what he's doing. He's just kind of like gushing about like how much he loves Chris McNeil, the great Chris McNeil, right? And he tells Chris that he's seen her movie Angel 6 times, right? Which I don't know, Kinderman. I mean, come on, it's like what? He's like, you too busy? Like, only 6? But I do like this interaction. Like actually, he's like, oh, you know that movie Angel, and it's just so sweet the way that he's like hesitant and bashful the way that he's saying it, right? And she is like, oh yeah, right? Like kind of has a reaction like, yeah, that was a hell of a movie, like it was a hell of a gig, right? You can see her remembering it as she writes, right?
Yeah.
But you can also hear Kinderman's like love for this film, right? Like his bashfulness, right? It's funny how now, just as he's about to leave, he's sort of getting starstruck here and bashful in the presence of this movie star that he's been talking to for how many minutes now? I don't even know.
Right. Like 6 movie minutes, it seems like. So
yeah. But yeah, we cut from there to an over the shoulder, over Chris's shoulder, and she hands him back his card, and just the way that he looks at it, he's so happy to have this little piece of memorabilia from his favorite movie star, right? He's really like this sweet, innocent little Kinderman, right? Like this little child man.
Yeah, and that's that unlike the shot that had been over Chris before as they're walking into the kitchen, he's sort of holding himself and pretending to have indigestion. Like he seems to hold in the movie, at least he seems to hold that smile even when Chris is not looking. So this seems to be genuine.
Yeah, this is, and again, like, Shakespeare rules, right? Like she's not looking at him and he's still smiling. So that smile is real, right?
There's no reason for him to do that while she's out of the frame, right?
Right. But yeah, but like, that's what that is, right? Like just happiness at receiving a gift from his favorite movie star, right? That's all it is, right? Like it can't be anything else.
It can't be, right? I mean, not the movie version, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like he's like, I tricked her into
right. I pinned her, yeah.
giving me this evidence, right? Yeah. But yeah, so after a moment, he follows Chris out into the foyer. But even before he exits the frame, he looks back down at the autograph, almost like he can't believe he's holding it. It's so sweet. Yeah. So now we're in the foyer, right? And she is helping him with his coat, and he's saying again, like kind of bashfully, he's like, "You're a very nice lady." Like, just that statement. It's like it's so childlike.
Right.
It just is like, you're a very nice lady. Like just this innocent observation, right? It's so sweet. And now Chris is behind him, helping with the coat, probably trying to usher him out as quick as she can, right? And to her credit, like if we are to believe that the bomb dropped for her in that previous minute, like what's a better way to say it? Like if the shoe dropped, if the light bulb, if the Burke dropped in that previous minute.
Yeah, exactly. If the head turned all the way around.
Yeah, all the way around, right? What I mean is if the moment of realization came when she was at the dining room table, she has not yet had time to process between it hitting her and this guy leaving, right? Like, he's still there in her house, so she needs to get him out, needs to sit down and have some tea, take some deep breaths, whatever. Like, she needs to process what she has just learned, that, you know, that her daughter likely killed Burke. But so yeah, like, to her credit, she's being very nice, very patient with him, right? As he continues to futz and, oh, I guess I can't say that word. But it rhymes with futz. And she even says to him, right, like, you're a nice man, right? Like, as she hands him his hat, and they walk to the door. But you can see in her face and hear in her voice that, like, she is already, like, elsewhere, right? Like, her mind is thinking about other things right now. Right?
And I am as well, thinking about what happens next.
Yeah, right. But okay, so before we get to that, Kynan, now, like, we're all done with this minute, right? But the next minute is pretty busy. There's a lot going on, right? Like, and there's actually something important that happens in the book before the main thing of the next minute. So in the book, Kinderman leaves, and then he comes back, Columbo style, right? And I figured we'd do it here just because the next minute isn't going to have space enough for anything else. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. So rather than have that there, right? I know in like the rules of the movies by minute thing, right? Like, Kinderman hasn't officially left, but we're just gonna jump ahead a little bit, and we're gonna read this little part of the book here, because it happens before the main thing of the next minute. Okay. So, so folks, forgive us. We're committing a little bit of a sin here. We're jumping a few seconds ahead to where Chris has closed the door on Kinderman because there's something that happens in the book before the events of the next minute. And I think this passage is actually pretty important. So if you'll remember, folks, in the movie, when Kinderman and Chris are at the table, Chris admits that Carl handles all of the deliveries, right? And asks if Kinderman would like to speak to Carl. And Kinderman says no. Same thing in the book. He says no. He has ample time and opportunity to question Carl, but he says no, and he leaves. And that's where we pick up in our book. I'm actually going to go a little bit back just to set the scene. But so here we go. A reading from the Book of Blatty. You're a very nice lady, he told her sheepishly, gaze averted. You're a very nice man. He seemed to blush harder. No, I'm not. I'm a bother. He was opening the door. Never mind what I said here today. It's upsetting. Forget it. Keep your mind on your daughter. Your daughter. Chris nodded, her despondency surging up again as Kinderman stepped outside onto the stoop and donned his hat. But you'll ask her, he reminded as he turned. I will, Chris whispered. I promise I will. Well, goodbye, and take care. Once more, Chris nodded, then added, you too. She closed the door softly, then instantly opened it again as he knocked. What a nuisance. I'm a nuisance. I forgot my pencil, he grimaced in apology. Chris eyed the stub in her hand, smiled faintly, and gave it to Kinderman. And another thing, he hesitated. It's pointless, I know. It's a bother. It's dumb. But I know I won't sleep, thinking maybe there's a lunatic loose or a doper if every little point I don't cover, whatever. Do you think I could... No, it's dumb. Yes, I should. Could I maybe have a word with Mr. Engstrom, do you think? The deliveries, the question of deliveries. I really should... Sure, come on in, Chris said wearily. No, you're busy. Enough. I can talk to him here. This is fine. Here is fine. He had leaned against a railing. If you insist, Chris smiled thinly. He's with Reagan. I'll send him right down. I'm obliged. Quickly, Chris closed the door. A minute later, Carl opened it. He stepped down to the stoop with his hand on the doorknob, holding the door slightly ajar. Standing tall and erect, he looked at Kinderman with eyes that were clear and cool. Yes? He asked, without expression. You have the right to remain silent. Kinderman greeted him, steely gaze locked tight on Carl's. If you give up the right to remain silent, he intoned rapidly in a flat, deadly cadence, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to speak with an attorney, and to have an attorney present during questioning. If you so desire and cannot afford one, an attorney will be appointed for you without charge prior to questioning. Do you understand each of these rights I've explained to you? Birds twittered softly in the branches of the elder tree, and the traffic sounds of M Street came up to them muted like the humming of bees from a distant meadow. Carl's gaze never wavered as he answered, Yes. Do you wish to give up the right to remain silent? Yes. Do you wish to give up the right to speak to an attorney and have him present during the questioning? Yes. Did you previously state that on April 28th, the night of the death of Mr. Dennings, you attended a film that was showing at the Crest? Yes. And what time did you enter the theater? I do not remember. You stated previously you attended the 6 o'clock showing. Does that help you remember? Yes, 6 o'clock show, I remember. And you saw the picture, the film, from the beginning? I did. And you left at the film's conclusion? I did. Not before? No, I see entire film. And leaving the theater, you boarded the DC Transit bus in front of the theater, debarking at M Street and Wisconsin Avenue at approximately 9:20 p.m. Yes. And walked home. I walk home. And we're back in this residence at approximately 9:30 p.m. I am back here exactly 9:30, Carl answered. You're sure? Yes, I look at my watch. I am positive. And you saw the whole film to the very end? Yes, I said that. Your answers are being electronically recorded, Mr. Engstrom. I want you to be absolutely positive. I am positive. You're aware of the altercation between an usher and a drunken patron that happened in the last minutes of the film? Yes. Can you tell me the cause of it? The man, he was drunk and was making disturbance. And what did they do with him finally? Out. They throw him out. There was no such disturbance. Are you also aware that during the course of the 6 o'clock showing, a technical breakdown lasting approximately 15 minutes caused an interruption in the showing of the film? I am not. You recall that the audience booed? No, nothing. No breakdown. You're sure? There was nothing. There was, as reflected in the log of the projectionist, showing that the film ended not at 8:40 that night, but at approximately 8:55, which would mean that the earliest bus from the theater would put you at M Street and Wisconsin not at 9:20, but 9:45, and that therefore the earliest you could be at the house was approximately 5 before 10, not 9:30, as testified by Mrs. McNeil. Would you care now to comment on this puzzling discrepancy? Not for a moment had Carl lost his poise, and he held it now as he answered, no. The detective stared at him mutely for a moment, then sighed and looked down as he turned off the monitor control that was tucked in the lining of his coat. He held his gaze down for a moment, then looked up at Carl. Mr. Engstrom, he began in a tone that was weary with understanding. A serious crime may have been committed. You are under suspicion. Mr. Dennings abused you, I have learned from other sources, and apparently you've lied about your whereabouts at the time of his demise. Now, it sometimes happens, we're human, why not, that a man who is married is sometimes someplace where he says that he is not. You will notice that I arranged we are talking in private, away from the others, away from your wife. I'm not now recording. It's off. You can trust me. If it happens you were out with a woman not your wife on that night, you can tell me. I'll have it checked out, you'll be out of this trouble, and your wife, she won't know. Now then, tell me, where were you at the time Dennings died? For a moment, something flickered in the depths of Carl's eyes, and then was smothered. At movies, he insisted through narrowed lips. The detective eyed him steadily. Silent and unmoving, no sound but his wheezing as the seconds ticked heavily. Heavily. You are going to arrest me? Carl asked the silence at last, in a voice that subtly wavered. The detective made no answer, but continued to eye him, unblinking. And when Carl seemed again about to speak, the detective abruptly pushed away from the railing, moving toward the squad car with hands in his pocket. He walked unhurriedly, viewing his surroundings to the left and the right like an interested visitor to the city. From the stoop, Carl watched, his features stolid and impassive, as Kinderman opened the door of the squad car, reached inside to a box of Kleenex fixed to the dashboard, extracted a tissue and blew his nose while staring idly across the river as if considering where to have lunch. Then he entered the car without glancing back. As the car pulled away and rounded the corner of 35th, Carl looked at the hand that was not on the doorknob and saw it was trembling.
Carl, what have you been up to?
What have you been up to, Carl? So yeah, folks, I think you can see why I had to read that for you. Something is not right with Carl here. This subplot is completely left out of the film, but it is so important, in my opinion, to the understanding of Carl as a character. So I'm glad I was able to read it here. And yes, we will find out through further readings just what is going on with him. So stay tuned, keep listening. Kynan, you have not read this far yet, so I'm excited to get your take on what's going on here. What do you think right now is happening with Carl?
I think he was out killing Burke. Clearly.
It's just that simple.
No, wait, he couldn't have killed Burke because
2 guys and 1 girl in a boat. 2 guys come back.
Right. One's got his head turned around. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine he's having an affair like Kinderman is giving him the out from.
Yeah.
I don't know. And why did he want Willie to go to a different movie, right?
Right.
At a different theater.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So it's tough to guess what's going on with Carl right now, but it's interesting that you've kind of you already don't believe that Carl is having an affair.
That's hard to believe. He barely loves his first wife, let alone going out and getting another one.
I thought you were giving him the benefit of the doubt. I was like, no, Carl is...
I don't know if he has time to neglect 2 wives.
His capacity to love, yeah. But okay, let me ask you this. Do you think the secret that Carl is keeping is nefarious?
I imagine, I don't know, just the physics of storytelling. You're supposed to think it is nefarious, so I imagine it's not nefarious. But
gotcha.
But yeah,
okay.
these answers...
Kynan, you're too good for this.
These answers here, those aren't very good answers, Carl. I'm with Kinderman on this.
Yeah. So whatever he ends up being, a good liar, Carl is not.
No, he's sus AF.
He is sus AF. Yeah. So yeah, I wonder what's going on with old Carl there. And yeah, folks, if you don't know, if you do know, then don't say anything. But if you don't know, give a little guess in our listener group, Compelling Conversations on Facebook. It's like, what do you think Carl is up to? What could he possibly be doing? But yeah, I think this little passage in the book confirms that he is indeed up to something.
He ain't fostering kitties that fall into the river.
Oh, well, we don't know that yet. We don't know that yet. But yeah, folks, I'm excited for all of us to find out about Carl. But for now, that is all my notes. Kynan, you got anything else?
Well, I just want the audience, our listeners, to prepare themselves for the next few minutes, which are pretty extreme, and to point out that in this last shot that we've gone through, where Chris is leading Kinderman to the door, she has passed the table where she has put down the crucifix she found under Reagan's pillow. And it is no longer there. It's gone missing. All right, that's all I got.
Interesting. Okay, so, folks, this has been another excellent Exorcist Minute. I have been Lester Ryan Clark. You can reach me on all the socials as Lester Ryan Clark.
And I've been Kynan Diaz. You can find me on Instagram and Letterboxd as Howdy Kynan.
Yeah, we got our listener group, Compelling Conversations. Go check that out and request to join, and we'll let you in here with us. And thank you to everyone who has shared the show by word of mouth or on social media. And a big thank you to everyone who has given us a 5-star ratings on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to our show. We really appreciate it. It's going to help our little podcast grow and find more cool people like yourself. All right, Kynan, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think I am, Lester.
Folks, until next time, the power of Danny DeVito compels you. Oh, I dropped my my Pazuzu head.
I dropped my Pazuzu head I use for my monster wife.
I dropped my little clay turtle that I use for my murders. I mean, I dropped my Nathalie Wood.
Oh, excuse me.